Well, I am so excited. Hi, everyone. I'm Heidi Krupp. I'm the CEO and founder of Krupp Agency, and I'm so thrilled to be sitting down with someone who I've known for many, many years, and and they're doing something that I do at home, and I do it with my son, and I am so excited to introduce you to one of the three fabulous founders. They're a sibling group of people that have created something that really helps make a great difference in the world. Her name is Jessica Ortner. Jessica, welcome. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so good to see you. Let me just tell you a little bit about Jessica. Jessica is the founder of the Tapping Solution, and she's a longtime friend. So when I was thinking about doing something for Mental Health Awareness Month in May, I could not include this. When I started and heard about tapping while I was trying to have my son, who's now 13. So this is while I was on my baby journey. I had learned about it and I started to do it because I was so anxious about it. And then when I got to meet the Ortners and work with them, I just fell in love with them because they're real people that are making a real difference in the world. You may have heard of them a lot when unfortunately things happened in Sandy Hook. They were incredibly instrumental to families on the ground there. They have helped so many people. So let me just tell you a little bit about what tapping is. Tapping is also known as EFT, or emotional freedom technique. It's a powerful stress release technique. Tapping is based on the combined principles of ancient Chinese acupressure and modern psychology, and it is proven to reduce stress, lower cholesterol, improve sleep, reduce anxiety, relieve pain, increase productivity, and so much more. Additionally, when you're stressed, your immune system's ability to function is reduced. Tapping helps to lower the stress. And in turn, it allows your immune system to do the work. Jessica and her brothers founded the Tapping Solution in 2007, Nick and Alex, with the mission of helping people release stress and finding balance in their lives, all at their own fingertips. We'll teach you more about that soon. She is a New York Times best-selling author of The Tapping Solution for Weight Loss and Body Confidence and producer of The Tapping Solution, the breakthrough documentary film on EFT tapping. If you've not seen it, I highly encourage that you do. She launched a revolutionary weight loss and body confidence online program for women, and she's also the host of the Tapping World Summit. I don't know how she had time to even be here with me today with all of what she does. The Tapping Solution app made its debut in 2018 and now has more than 20 million sessions played in over 130 countries. The Ortners have guided millions of people and lots of celebrities and lots of influencers across the globe to lower stress and anxiety in the body and build a happier, healthy life. Who better for me to speak to during Mental Health Awareness Month than Jessica Ortner? Jessica, thank you so much for joining me today for this informative conversation about the Tapping Solution and how it can help us get strong. So
Yes,
thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
So Jess, you know me, I love to know how it all started. What is the backstory that brought you here to to your books, your business, and your brand?
Yeah, well, again, thank you for having me. And it's been such an incredible journey. And I'm excited to speak to your audience in particular, because I think we all know what it's like to have this entrepreneurial spirit, and how oftentimes there isn't a clear path ahead of you. It's like you're only just taking the next step to find your way. And for us, for me, I can talk about myself and then I'll talk about how I kind of teamed up with my brothers. I've had anxiety since I was born. I remember so much of my childhood because I often had really severe anxiety, and I have these moments burnt in my head. I struggled in school often. I had to go to a speech pathologist. I couldn't read until I was much older, and so all of that was this immense amount of anxiety, which I just learned how to deal with because I've had it for so long. I didn't know there was an alternative of not having anxiety. I just felt like this is who I am. And I'm just struggling to feel like I can keep up with the world and to fit in and to hide the anxiety. And when I was, there was a moment that I think really changed things. And I was 17 years old, and my brother, who was in his 20s at the time, Nick, had found these old cassette tapes of Tony Robbins in my parents' basement that my mother
I
bought
know,
from an infomercial.
I know that guy.
Yeah, you know that guy. And I'll loop back to how he now is involved in our app. But I'll start with saying that he found these tapes, and then we also found Wayne Dyer and so many amazing people. And as a 17-year-old, he introduced this to me, and I was a junior in high school, and it absolutely changed my life. I went from always feeling like I wasn't enough to realizing, wow, I actually have a lot of great skills. I'm really good at communicating, at understanding people's emotions, at empathy. And so I knew I wanted to help people. I just didn't know how. I saw my mom as a therapist, and I felt like it wasn't my path because I saw all these new books and all these new authors. And I felt like, wow, things are unfolding so quickly in the world of personal health and personal development. I was just fascinated. So when it was time for me to go to college, I made a deal with my parents. I said, let me go to a really affordable in-state school and let me use the difference in money, because my middle brother went to Boston college. So I said, let me use that difference in money to take any course I want. So I did hypnotherapy, NLP, every Tony Robbins training. I just immersed myself in this world. And during that, I discovered tapping. So it was my the older brother, Nick, who introduced me to it. And even though I was reading a lot about personal development, my anxiety was so physical that I could kind of talk my way out of it a little bit. It definitely helped, but it was so physical that I still felt trapped in the anxiety and felt like it was something that I needed to live with. And it wasn't until I discovered tapping that I had a real physical shift. Like it wasn't just emotions or the way I was viewing the world. It was physically my body was able to relax. And it's like you're holding a heavy backpack for so long that you get used to it. And then you take it off and you're like, whoa, like I didn't even know you could feel this light. And Nick and I both went on our own journeys of just never thinking it would be a career, but just using it with ourselves, using it with all our friends. Like, hey, this is amazing. You want to try this? And then around that time, Heidi, you probably remember this. The Secret came out. Remember The
Oh,
Secret?
yes. Yes.
It
Yes. The
became
movie The
the
Secret.
best-selling documentary film about the law of attraction, and it was the best-selling DVD. So we were watching it and we saw all these experts, and we began to realize that a lot of these experts were using tapping. And when it came to the law of attraction, what they didn't cover in that film, which a lot of the experts were speaking on their own, was the importance of looking at the emotional blocks, at looking at what, allowing yourself to take a moment to weed before you plant that seed. And so at that time, Nick came to me and he's like, I think we should make a documentary film. And I was like, well, I think that is a horrible idea because we have no experience in film and we have no money. But he was like, I think we can do this. I have a friend from high school who like does graphic design, and his friend Nick Palizzi joined us. And Nick put all the money on credit cards. And I remember the day all the film equipment showed up in he lived in a tiny apartment on top of a house in Connecticut. And all this film equipment came. And luckily, like YouTube was around. So we would YouTube, like, how do you light? How do you light an interview? How does this microphone work? And we created a documentary film about tapping where we interviewed all of these experts, many of them who were in The Secret, who already had a platform. And we also took 10 participants and we found a retreat center in Connecticut, and we filmed a weekend with them and then followed up with them 6 months later. We began to sell the film, Heidi, before it was complete to help fund the film.
That's
We knew
amazing.
there was an audience for tapping. So we made a website. We talked about the film. We showed short clips that were ready, and we began pre-sales to help us be able to help finish this film. And,
That's amazing.
I thought Oprah would find me. Like, that was my plan. My plan was we make a film, Oprah would call, and my life would change. But
There's
it
still
didn't. The film,
time. There's still time for that, young lady. That's
but
why
I
we're
made my,
doing this.
yeah. But my point is, that's the plan. And then you think like, well, what is the next step? And the next step of our evolution was learning internet marketing. And at that time, there was no Zoom. You couldn't interview people on the internet. And so my Nick came up with this idea. He said, there's a lot of webinars out there, but it's like you do a class and it's once a week. He's like, what if we make it feel like an event and it's 7 days? And for 24 hours, you can listen to two speakers. The next day, two new speakers come up. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. And I was living in Brooklyn at the time and had nowhere to record. I had my dad's cousin who's an attorney, and he gave me a key to his office. So when all the lawyers would leave, I would unlock this. I was like 21 years old. I would unlock this office. I'd go to one of his phones and I would use Audio Acrobat, and I would record these interviews with these experts. And
Amazing.
we put on this
Resourceful.
yeah, thank you. And we put on this online event. Our servers crashed because 50,000 people showed up because we tapped into a community. And that is the moment that changed my life. That was like what I thought Oprah would do for me, is starting to do online events. And then it evolved from there. But that was the moment when we learned online marketing and we learned to do these online events, that things really changed for us.
Well, I think you were the first actually in doing these big online events and bringing community together, especially in a category that not that many people were talking about when you began. It wasn't like meditation was a thing that everybody was accepting when tapping was
Oh,
happening, and
no.
nobody really understood what it was or how it would work and what it would do. And so I think what I saw in your journey, when and I'll just share a little bit, they started with these events, and then they went and they started the app, and they had a bunch of best-selling books. Each of the siblings had their own best-selling books. One had a book for children, to teach children about stress, which was so important to Jess and others because Jess had experienced it, and they wanted to obviously make that easier for children. Then they all started to have children themselves. I mean, how many kids collectively does everyone have now?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That's amazing. And then so they went from that, and then they started to think about different niches. So like tapping for weight loss, tapping for stress, tapping for trauma. I mean, there was all kinds of different things that people needed it for. Are you still doing things like that, Jess? Are there still different modalities for that, or do you just tapping to tap? Is there just a standard tapping? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that tapping is so accessible is that once you learn these 9 acupressure points that are really easily accessible, you can use it for anything. And so for example, in the app, we teamed up with Dr. Ariel Schwartz, who is an expert in PTSD. And we took her knowledge as a therapist and this incredible modality, and we combined the two, and we created this series for those who are experiencing trauma as extra support. So this is something that a therapist, one of our biggest recommendations come from therapists who say, okay, in between sessions, I'd like you to do this tapping. And I think it might be worth explaining really briefly why it works.
Yes.
So when we have a thought, doesn't just live in our head. We have a physical response. So we have a thought that becomes physical. It becomes anxiety in our chest or feeling in our stomach. And so what tapping does is it sends this calming signal to your brain, so that because you're sending this calming signal to this stressful thought, suddenly your brain goes, okay, even though I have this stressful thought, my body can relax. And when your body can relax within a stressful thought, that's when you're in control to choose something different. That's when you're able to look at things different and gain new perspective. But when the anxiety is so strong and the fear is so real, we're not able to kind of break through and learn things that can benefit us because our body is in that fight or flight mode. So we're sending this calming signal. And so that's why we're able to combine it with so many different things, and it works great. We have another CBT therapist. We did a whole series on tapping with CBT, so with cognitive behavioral therapy. And so it's really this wonderful modality that you can combine with other expertise and with other people. And so that's what's been really fun about the app, is we're really expanding in that way with different experts.
That's wonderful. And then are there a lot of studies? I think there were a lot of studies that
Yes.
actually talk to us about the proof of all of this, because some people say,
Yeah.
"Oh, it seems too good to be true." It does work. Trust me. My son does it. I do it.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone, my staff loves to do it. They're going to do more of it with Jessica. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell us about the
Well,
studies and the
well,
proof.
that's why we wanted to do the documentary film, because there were hundreds of people writing in, "Oh my goodness, I got over my fear of driving. I am able to sleep better." But it's so hard to know if it's real, if
Right.
you don't visually
Right.
see it. And at that time there was no research. It didn't exist.
Right.
The
Yeah.
only thing we thought was, well, we would explain it in the film. Oh, you have a meridian system, and um, it can help energy disturbances, but we didn't really know, honestly, when we made the film. Since then, the research and the science has exploded to a level that I could have never dreamed. There are over 300 peer-reviewed research studies on tapping. There was one study that was fascinating that tracked the brain of before and after tapping. So this particular study used women who were clinically considered obese, who had really
Mm.
difficult times with food and with cravings. And so
Mm.
they put them in the MRI scan and they showed them different foods that created craving, and you see their brain fire off. And they would also say, yes, I look at that food and I have a craving, and I have trouble with self-control. I feel like I can't control how much I'm eating. Then they did 4 weeks of tapping. They put the participants who did tap, they put everybody, they had a group that tapped and a group that didn't. The group that tapped not only said that they felt in control around food and they didn't have the
Mm.
cravings, but when they were shown the food in the MRI, their brain is not lighting up the same way it was before. And so you can see these images
Wow.
of a before and after. And that is one example with food, with something that can trigger people, just this desire, this lack of control. But, since then, there's been studies around people struggling with PTSD and how it can help.
Mm.
The research was so compelling that the VA has now approved it as a therapy to be
That's
used.
that's that's amazing. Congratulations. That is
Yeah.
such big news. That's wonderful.
Thank you. And
Wonderful.
it's just the beginning. Like, there is so much. Now it's really getting to this point where there is this tipping point. And it's not only in the US. There's research studies, in Canada and Australia, and then there's a lot of research studies in foreign languages as well. And so it's exciting to see how this changes things, because back in the day I thought, oh, I don't care about research. I'm just an entrepreneur. I just want people to use it. This is the best self-help tool. But research has opened the doors to different hospitals, to the VA, to schools, and it's really been spreading in such a wonderful way.
That's wonderful. So, Jess, what I love about tapping is it puts you in control of yourself in some way, because it allows you, with the mechanics of it and finding the pressure points and talking to yourself through it to do it. Can you talk to me a little bit about the mechanics of it? And then if you have a thought, how does the tapping happen? How does the tapping get rid of the thought? Maybe we should start to kind of go
Yeah,
through the points and then do some
yeah.
tapping together
I
potentially.
would love that.
If you would like that. Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah. So tapping is this really beautiful mix of these ancient Chinese acupressure and modern psychology. And what we're realizing now is denial and pushing feelings away and trying to focus on something different does not work. If you're really upset, I love positive affirmations, but if you're really upset, jumping into a positive affirmation feels fake. It feels uncomfortable. It can create some resentment. And so the basis of tapping is this, creating this space of acceptance, of saying,
Mm.
even though I'm anxious, I accept how I feel. And giving yourself a moment to have that thought that's triggering that physical response, and tapping while you're having that thought. We use words to help us stay present, but it's not about the words, it's about the feeling. So if you suddenly
Mm.
get rear ended and you are in a shock state, don't say
Mm.
anything, just start tapping. You are telling your body, every time you tap, you're telling your body, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm here, I'm safe. And so we do that as we allow ourselves to explore those beliefs or those thoughts or that anxiety that's holding us back. And we only move to the positive when we start to feel a little bit better. Because
Mm.
if you're, really upset and someone says, just calm down,
Oh,
it never, it never
that
works.
doesn't work.
And so you want to get to a point where you can hear something more positive and it feels true. It feels gentle. It feels easy to accept that thought. If you're already feeling good and you're like, you know what, I just want a boost of confidence. I have this meeting. I feel prepared, but I have some jitters. You don't
Mm.
have to focus on the negative so much. You can just go to like, I know what I'm going to say. I'm ready to speak. I am prepared. And, kind of reaffirm what you want to know while you're tapping. All it's doing is sending that calming signal. So you can do it for negative things, or you could do it when you just need a little boost and stay more positive. And so I can walk you through where the tapping points are.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
great. That would be great.
the
I've done it before, but always good to have
yes,
a
but for
refresher,
those who are
especially from
watching,
you, especially
yes,
from you.
the first point is on the side of the hand, right underneath your pinky, and these acupressure points are symmetrical. They run on both sides of your body, so it doesn't matter what side of the body you tap on. The next one is the eyebrow point, and it's where the hair of your eyebrow begins. So you might notice that people are stressed, they go like this. And then we have the side of the eye right on the bone. So you just follow your eyebrow down until you're on the bone. Perfect. And then underneath the eye on the bone, underneath the nose, between your lip and your nose, then right underneath your bottom lip. Then you have your collarbone point. It's if you feel that kind of U shape, you go down an inch and over an inch on either side and you'll hit it. You can also use your whole hand. Then we
Oh, I
have
did. Yeah.
underneath the arm. Does that feel good? This is a hand width from your armpit. For women, it tends to be where your bra strap lies. And then we have the very top of the head. And so when we're tapping, the side of the hand is what we do it's called the setup statement. We only use that once. And then as we're going through the tapping, we're going around our body. And so it's very, you can kind of get lost. Once you learn the points, you can always just do this kind of tapping loop to help yourself feel better. And if
So
you'd
if I,
like, yeah, go
yeah, I was
ahead.
gonna say, so if I'm having a thought, like let's try to use this like with real
Yes.
life, right?
Yeah.
So, we were in Maui when the fires happened. So, often last night I was looking through photos, getting things ready for Caden's bar mitzvah. Believe it or not, we're working on it. And I was looking through photos and I started seeing all these photos of Maui that, and I love Maui. It's beautiful. But I still, I guess, and I knew we were talking today. So I was like, this is a perfect example and time. But I saw it and it was like I was triggered immediately to be thinking about,
Mhm.
some of the experiences that happened there, plus the fires and how quickly we pivoted. We went to help people, but yet also it just changed everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I would say. Like I know how I
Yeah.
feel, but I don't know what I would say.
Where do you feel it in your body when you think about it?
In my
You
stomach.
just in your stomach. Okay. And if that feeling in your stomach had a name, would it be worry, anxiety, heartbreak? What
Sadness,
would
yeah, heartbreak,
sadness?
sadness, disappointment.
Yes. So this like
Disappointment.
sadness in your gut.
Mhm.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit more about the sadness. So what are some of the specific thoughts that trigger it?
Just that it felt just like it shouldn't have happened. I wish that I
Mhm.
could have done something to prevent it. I wanted to help all of those people, that were
Yeah.
homeless. I just felt like, a siren didn't go off. We went there because it was safer because there was no COVID cases there. And then suddenly we're in a place that just didn't feel safe anymore because there were no alarms, there were no signs. It was obvious that people couldn't react quickly. And we were supposed to be in Lahaina that night at dinner at the Lahaina Grill. So there was also that guilt of if I would have been
Mhm.
there, could I have helped more? If I would have been there, oh my gosh, what could have happened? So I was like I was almost in the
Yeah.
middle of And you know me, I'm like, I take care of everyone else. I don't even try to think of myself. And I don't think I really have fully processed that, to be honest, because I
Yeah.
was taking care of my son. I was helping various talent and people that were on the island do what they needed to do to help, make things better. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So we can do some tapping. One thing I think is worth noting, our feelings aren't necessarily bad. It's
right.
beautiful that you feel sad. It would be
Yeah,
concerning if you didn't it's one thing that makes you so beautiful is like, oh, your heart breaks when you think about that.
of course.
And so it's okay to have that experience and to feel that way. And actually, it is healthy and it helps us make better decisions and take care of people. We have to make the distinction between the sadness and sadness that feels debilitating, or a
Right.
sense of shock that makes us live in fear. So suddenly that sense of shock means that we're kind of a little on guard or hyper vigilant in those surroundings. So it's making
Mm,
sure that that's what we're addressing, and and also what we can do is just give our heart a little peace, with the sadness. So it's not about like making the sadness go away, but experiencing like a little more self compassion and peace that we
mm.
aren't able to do and change everything. It seems like that is what relates the most.
I think that would be wonderful. That would be great,
Yeah.
Jess. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready to
Okay.
release and
Let's
connect.
Okay, let's do that. And for those who are watching, if you want to tap along, I know that this is very specific. You probably weren't in Hawaii, but as we're tapping our brain, there's this thing called borrowing benefits. It's incredible. You might be tapping on what someone else went through, and maybe it doesn't resonate with you, but your brain begins to make those connections. And so, or if you just want to tap to get more familiar with the points, you can do that too. So, um, the sadness in your gut, Heidi, can you give it a number from 0 to 10?
Well, now that we've been speaking about it, it's already gone down. I thought I'd say when I first told you about it, I'd probably say it was like an 8, and about right
Yeah.
now it's like a 7,
Okay.
6, like
Beautiful.
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so tapping on the side of the hand. Repeat after me. Even though I have this sadness in my gut,
Even though I have the sadness in my gut,
I accept how I feel,
I accept how I feel,
and I'm open to more peace.
and I'm very open to more peace.
One more time. Even though I have this sadness in my gut,
Even though I have the sadness in my gut,
because I wish I could have done more.
because I wish I could have done more.
I accept myself and all these feelings.
I accept myself and all of these feelings.
Okay, tapping on the eyebrow point. We're going to give a moment to just be with these feelings. So, repeating after me, the sadness in my gut,
The sadness in my gut.
side of the eye. I wish I could have done more.
I wish I could have done more.
Under the eye. And I look at these photos.
And I look at these photos,
Under the nose, and I feel the sense of shock.
and I feel the sense of shock.
Under the mouth, this shouldn't have happened.
This shouldn't have happened.
Collarbone, we didn't get a warning.
We didn't get a warning.
Under the arm, all this sadness in my body.
All this sadness in my body,
Top of the head, this sense of shock.
the sense of shock.
Eyebrow, I acknowledge what my body and mind have gone through.
I acknowledge what my body and mind have gone through.
Side of the eye, that is a lot to process.
That is a lot to process.
Under the eye, and I'll never fully understand it.
And I'll never fully understand it.
Under the nose, so much was out of my control.
So much was out of my control.
Under the mouth, and I really do not like when things are out of my control.
Jess, you know me well. And I really don't like when things are out of my control.
Collarbone, so my mind thinks of everything that should have been different.
So my mind thinks of everything that should have been different.
under the arm, and my body feels this shock.
And my body feels the shock.
Top of the head. It's a lot to process.
It's a lot to process.
Eyebrow. And I'm here to support myself.
And I'm here to support myself.
Side of the eye, and to support my body.
And to support my body.
Under the eye, I am safe.
I am safe.
Again, under the nose, I am safe.
I am safe.
Under the mouth, that was so scary.
That was so scary.
Collarbone, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
Under the arm, I am now safe.
I am now safe.
Top of the head, I did the best I could.
I did the best I could.
Eyebrow, I helped as much as I could.
I helped as much as I could.
Side of the eye, I honor my big heart.
I honor my big heart.
Under the eye, it's okay to care deeply.
It's okay to care deeply.
Under the nose, and to begin to release this shock.
And to begin to release this shock.
Under the mouth, I am safe.
I am safe.
Collarbone, my body is safe.
My body is safe.
Under the arm, it's okay to feel some sadness.
It's okay to feel some sadness.
Top of the head, and some peace in my body.
And some peace in my body.
Okay, one more round. Eyebrow, releasing this shock.
Releasing this shock.
Side of the eye, accepting what is.
Accepting what is.
Under the eye, accepting these complicated emotions.
Accepting these complicated emotions.
Under the nose, there's room for all of my feelings.
There's room for all of my feelings.
Under the mouth, there's room for this shock.
There's room for this shock.
Collarbone, and there's more room for this peace.
And there's more room for this peace.
Under the arm, and all the love I have in my heart.
All the love I have in my heart.
Top of the head, and the way I help others.
In the way I help others.
Okay, now take a nice deep breath in. And exhale.
Oh, I feel so great, Jess. I do. I feel so great. I feel so I feel like I've released so much. I've given myself permission to just release all of that, not even realizing that I was holding on to that tightly.
Mm-hmm. Check in with your stomach, because
yeah, no, my stomach doesn't hurt at all. I have I have no feeling whatsoever in my stomach, and my head. I'm a little jet lagged because I was in Arizona for 10 days for an event. I feel energized. I feel calm. I feel peaceful, and I feel a sense of release and contentment and peace like nobody's business. That was amazing. Thank you
that's
so much.
wonderful.
And I was thinking about while I was doing it, like there's so many, like I think people that went through COVID as well were so scared and like didn't know what that was. I was with someone recently that was talking about how they just were petrified of getting sick. Yesterday I was with somebody and they were talking about that. And I think so many people walk around with these fears and feelings, and like you were talking about and walking me through, it's like we're afraid to feel, but when we feel it, which tapping helps you do, you can release it. If you claim it and own it and talk about it, it quickly can go pass through you, and that's okay. That's the
Yes.
thing.
Yeah. I just created a series with this woman, Samantha Sonnet, who is in the NYPD. She was a police officer for 10 years on the ground, and now she specializes in biochemical warfare. So she basically, the
Mm,
terrorism unit in, when if there's a terrorist attack, it's like she trains people.
wow.
And she went to a therapist when she was struggling with some PTSD, and they asked, can you talk about everything that's been tough, all those tough moments? And she was like,
Mm,
in a day, like the ones I had in the last 24 hours,
yeah.
because I can tell you four. I mean, these are people who are walking into
Yeah.
some of the most horrific things in an environment now, obviously, that for those good people. I mean, Sam is just good to her core. I mean, she is just
Oh.
service, like she's such a service to us all and such bravery.
Mm,
And um I think the reason I bring this up is that sometimes too, it's hard for us to figure out like where our feelings are coming from because so much has gone on.
mhm.
And suddenly we feel a panic and we're like, is it COVID? Is it the news? Like I'm lying in bed and I'm anxious and I'm not quite sure why. And she turned to tapping and got everyone on her team to do tapping because you're able to calm your nervous system and be where you are and be like, okay, just very to myself. I don't have to go and talk to anyone else, which is very helpful
Right.
at times, but sometimes you just have a moment to yourself, like when you're looking at those photo albums
Yeah.
and you're feeling triggered, you can just go, okay, let me just start here and take some deep breaths. Let me just tap
Mhm.
through some rounds while I'm in this feeling to help me move through it. And so one of the things that I'm really proud of in the app is we have a tapping solution foundation, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the app, everything for first responders, the nurses who are dealing with
I know. It's
everyone coming in from
amazing.
COVID in the beginning, everything's free. And one of them is called releasing shock, because that is a very big one. When you're in a situation like the worst of COVID or a terrorist attack or anything, the fires in Hawaii, you can't mentally process that. There's no way, like our brain is
No.
like, this is just beyond comprehension how this could happen.
Right.
And so for those of us who are thinkers like you and I, we drive ourselves crazy because we're just trying to think like, how could this have happened? And it's just hard for our brain to comprehend and our body feels it. And so doing a tapping meditation to release shock is so powerful. You have to do something physical because you're not going to get there thinking. You're not going to release shock by just thinking about it. It has
No,
to be something physical.
or being stuck thinking you have to fix it. So I think the
Yes.
best thing to do is to go back in and center and acknowledge that all of this has happened. See, like when we left Hawaii at the end of September, so we've been back in New York for a while, but it took a couple months. And even just now, like I'm telling you, like I had no plans to go back to Hawaii anytime soon. I knew that I was very uncertain about going back, but it was interesting that we'd be speaking today to see the photos and then to have this experience. It's okay to have the same feelings, love of the beauty and all of the island, but also understand some things that happened where we didn't feel we belonged there or were wanted. Caden was bullied there pretty badly. Somebody had posted on Snapchat that he should kill himself like Hitler. I mean, it was bad enough to say something like they did, but and this is before what happened in Israel. So it was definitely one of those moments for me. And you know me, Jess, like I feel like I can take on and take care of everything, but like people treating people that way, it's but you can, but what you just shared and what you just showed, you can handle that by going into yourself, understanding what that is, fixing your own nervous system and your own feelings around it. And then the more you do that, that can also help whoever you're around with that and
Yeah.
get others to do it with you. And it can
Because
become a ripple effect.
you don't have to accept what other people are giving you. You
Right.
don't have to take like but it's hard when you're young, and it's hard. But that is why I think it's so powerful when we get into our body, because we know we find ourselves again. And in those moments, we can be like, this is me, and I know what's true, and that is them. And what they are saying and what they're giving out, I don't need to accept. Like, that is not me.
No, no,
And
no.
yeah, I think for me, I feel like it brings you home.
It totally tapping brings you home. It's like a tap on the door inside
Yeah.
back into your home. No, it truly is.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the app and downloading the app. And you were going to say you're working with Tony Robbins. Tell me a little bit about him.
Oh,
I think yeah, and
you
that he's
want the
working with
juicy
you.
you wanna know the juicy scoop? I'll tell you the
Yeah,
full
I want to know
story for
everything.
your audience.
I remember when we were working with you when that was first happening, and you went to Florida
Yeah.
and went to the event, and
Yes.
but yeah, give me the whole scoop.
So, when you've had a mentor since you were 17 years old and you get
Mhm,
to meet them, it's scary because I've often
mhm.
seen that people don't live up to your expectations, you know, because you idolize them. Everybody's human, right? Everybody's
And
human.
he's larger than life, and you're
And
an
he's
itty bitty
larger than
thing,
life.
so that
Exactly. So, we met him, he was interested in the app, which to us was just incredible because I know if that I didn't learn his work when I was 17, it wouldn't have given me the courage to figure things out to have this career. So, he says to us, "Well, I really like to support you guys, but I'd like to have a percentage because then I can say I'm an owner." He said that, and I just like my stomach dropped. This was like messaging back and forth. My stomach dropped because I'm like, I don't know, what's he gonna want, 25%? Suddenly we need to always talk to him about things. And I mean, for some other people that they might happily have him at 25%, but we've always been very independent. Like
Oh,
we
sure.
have
Good
kids
for you.
and we love to like have control with the way that we live our lives. So anyway, we were nervous. He comes back and he's like, give me 2% and 100% of that will go to feeding America. You never have to do a check for me. It go to feeding America. And I go, and we're like, that is unbelievable. We'll each individually do a percentage. So 5% of everything we make, of all profits from the app, go to feeding America, thanks to
That's
him. And
amazing.
I mean, he did live up to my expectation because I thought
Oh,
he didn't make a public speech about it. He just privately was like, just give me a small percentage so I can say that I'm a part owner. Everything goes to feeding America. And so I love that. Um, and you had another
that's
question, which I
amazing.
don't remember.
I
Oh,
was gonna say, what celebrities and other people use the app? I mean, when I think of the app that I wanna use at night before I go to bed, or the one that I'm gonna tell Caden about, like, I don't think about those other ones that are just meditation ones, whatever they are, and I know that they do big advertising and this, that, the other, like, but this one really actually works because you're doing it for yourself and you're in control of it. So what's the future of tapping? What's the future of the tapping
yeah.
app?
I mean, I love the future, I think is collaborating with other incredible experts that bring a lot to the
Mm,
table. You know, I
mhm.
don't think I could have done a tapping meditations for first responders if I didn't have someone who's been in the military, on the field, a
Right.
cop who knows, you know, what it's really like.
Sure.
Same thing with PTSD. This is someone, Dr. Ariel Schwartz has dedicated her life to that. So those collaborations are really exciting. The other thing that's been surprising is that we started to do reels on social media of tapping, just one round, just really quick 90 seconds. And they have gone
I
so
love
viral
them.
and people love them. And so the latest thing we have is called a quick tap, and it's
Oh,
less than 2 minutes. It's a video of me. It's just one round to just get you in a better state, help you sleep, just kind of get you there quickly. So that has been really exciting. And I love working with my brothers. I joke that I think the fact that that like we have a family business and we haven't killed each other after a decade just shows that tapping works because nobody triggers you like your own family. Um, but I love working with them. They're so grounded. They're such good people. Like,
they are.
they're just
They
so
are.
good. And every time like something shiny comes along, we always just reevaluate like the difference we want to make, what really matters. Also being good parents to little kids. And I really feel like I've just created like my dream job with my brothers. And I'm so grateful. I'm like relieved, grateful because it's been such a long journey to get here.
Well, I'm so relieved that you did it. I remember when you were volunteering at Tony's seminars when I was his publicist and working for and with him for decades. And all of you would come and you cared about self improvement and self help so much. And you always wanted to serve and help people, all of you. And as I said, you help people during, Sandy Hook, which was just, again, another traumatic. And unfortunately, we're getting more and more traumatic things happening in the world. And so the lovely part of this is that tapping actually can help make a difference, put someone in the saddle. You did it for yourself. It's such a great backstory. I mean, you had your own anxiety, you went on a journey, you uncovered something that could help others, and you and your brothers and family turned it into a business that's, really it's not, yes, it's a business, but it's so meaningful because it's helping so many others. And so I encourage everybody to download the app, get their books. All of their books are amazing. Download the documentary. I think I'm going to watch it myself tonight again too. I don't think I've seen that with Kaden. I should definitely show it
Keep
to
in
him.
mind it's old, but
I
it's still
know.
good
We
stuff.
need I think we need I think Jess, I think we might need to update that.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, now you know how to film it. Now you don't have to just find the person and put it in the room. Now you've come a long way. I mean, Tony's
Yeah.
done a documentary. You never know. He might want to do a documentary forward with you about it.
Yeah,
You
maybe.
don't throw it out. You don't throw it out there. It doesn't happen. You never know.
You never know. I'm with you. And
Well,
it's a great movie. I just want to keep in mind that it doesn't have the science and research because it was done so long ago, but I'm proud
yeah.
of it.
Oh, and it doesn't have like the animation and how people tape things. It's not the high def of how
Yeah.
things are anymore. But it actually is kind of cool because it shows you exactly the heritage story that she just shared and how it started and the original people. But once you see this and you'll start to see there's plenty. I mean, I turn on the TV, I see Jess tapping with Hoda and Jenna. I've seen Jess tapping on various shows. There's lots of celebrities that that love tapping and talk about it. I think Pink taps. I mean, there's so many people that have found and discovered tapping and use it as a daily ritual for them. Some people even say, I've heard people tell me that they believe in tapping. They don't even necessarily have to go to therapy. I mean, we're not doctors or therapists telling you what to do or not to do here, but this is definitely something that you should try the same way that you would want to try a meditation. This in some way is meditative, but you're putting yourself in the driver's seat and you're vocal and active about it. And like I just experienced, which I mean, I can't tell you how grateful I am, Jess. I feel so much better. I feel a sense of peace and release. So thank you for tapping with me today and teaching everybody that's watching how this works and your great backstory and how you've turned that into something fabulous. And it's just always a pleasure to see you. I love you and your brothers so much. I mean, one of the captains of the fan club here always will
Thank
be
you.
your fairy dust, magic mentor, however you might need. Because I mean, anybody that's doing things like you all to help make a difference in the world, sign me up.
Thank you, Heidi. We love you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. Have a great day. And all of you, download the tapping app. It's all where all apps are, or go to their website and get more information. And thank you very much for having us. And I hope that this helped you today find some peace inside yourself and your life. Tap, 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 tap.